Coach, it's always a pleasure. I got to ask you, I don't think people are really shocked that the Golden State Warriors held serve and won their first 2 games at home, but a lot of people are surprised the way that they won. Are you among the group that are surprised that Golden State were so dominant in the first 2 games?
Not really, and let's not forget the games were pretty close into the third quarter, so it wasn't like a complete and utter blowout for the entire game. But you could sense, even in the beginning, that there were cracks in the defense that the Cavaliers were playing. So I'm not surprised they won easily. I felt like coming out of the Thunder series and against that kind of defense, they were going to meet the Cavaliers defense and feel like, again, they were just, running on a track instead of in the sand, and it's really borne that out.
And I think Golden State is, they're so underrated defensively, aren't they? And I mentioned this earlier in the show, but everyone talks about the three-point shot and the offensive prowess that they bring. But the team defense, the team concepts, Kerr's understanding of matchups, very, very difficult for Cleveland to deal with. And I'm not trying to throw Coach Lou under the bus, but he hasn't been in this position before. He didn't really have to come up with matchups, really, against the Raptors, the Pistons, and the Hawks. So he's got some maneuvering to do. And I see the Cavaliers average 111 points per game at home in the playoffs. Yet against Golden State, the last 10 times they played, they're only averaging 97 points. What can Cleveland do, Coach, to get the three-point shot back? Golden State's taking that away, and Cleveland can't, they're having a hard time breaking 90, let alone 100 right now, Coach. How does Cleveland score tonight?
Well, they got all those beautiful threes earlier in the playoffs with dribble penetration. That was very easy against the teams they were playing. Nothing like the defense they're at now. So the Warriors are not allowing that easy penetration to get into the lane and then all that kick out, beautiful motion, and all those open threes. So I identified yesterday when I was doing a breakdown where it's not a lot of choices they have to make to get LeBron an advantage against that defense. They got Harrison Barnes, Iguodala, Harrison Barnes, a lot of great players who can guard him, Klay Thompson. And so the only thing I could come up with really was they need to force Steph Curry onto him more. And my concern with maybe Tyronn Lue being a rookie coach is their offense doesn't seem to have a purpose of understanding those kind of matches and trying to hunt those out. It rarely happened in the first 2 games, and they did have some success when they were able to finally get Curry on him, but they need to do that a lot more and force that matchup.
It seems to me that LeBron, and what do you make of this, that LeBron gets the ball and it's sort of dying. There's no movement, and then LeBron gets the ball at the top of the key, and it's almost the Carmelo Anthony effect in which it's too slow. There's no movement. The shot clock is expiring, and it's sort of slowing the pace up. And it's like he tries to pass it to people. I don't know. They're just not in a rhythm at all, Coach. And I find LeBron is hanging on to the ball too long. He gets the ball, and the next thing you know, there's 6 seconds left in the shot clock, and even if he does pass it, they have to force a bad shot after. I want to see him take it to the rack more, Coach.
I agree, but they have success isolating him in the post and him facing up and getting there. But remember, when Tristan Thompson's in there, they can ignore him and shadow him. He is a natural passer. He isn't going to force the ball, and that's the one thing I love about the way he plays. He's always been that way. He'll be willing to make the right play, but it's bad enough when he stops the ball, and he's doing that a little bit, but it's also Kyrie Irving who literally is just catching it and ripping through and just staring at the defense and letting everybody move up and get in the way. So when you're talking about Kyrie Irving doing that and LeBron doing it a bit, now you got a problem against one of the best defenses in the league.
Coach, if you're coaching, it's very difficult with Kyrie Irving, isn't it? You just can't hide him right now. He got away with it in the first game. He had 26. Steph only had 11. I get it. But we're seeing time and time again, the back door is wide freaking open, man. And it's not just Kyrie, but they're just really lost defensively, Coach. And specifically, Kyrie, out of 85 point guards in the NBA, the plus-minus from a defensive standpoint, he's 83rd in the league, Coach.
I hear you. And the problem here is Tyronn Lue took over late in the season and never really had a chance to put any kind of imprint. However, we certainly saw a lot better defense last year in the finals when David Blatt was coaching them. So the bottom line is they don't seem to have very good underlying foundation and fundamentals of defense. They started to switch everything in game 1 and were getting a lot of slipping of those screens for backdoors like we saw. Then they decided sort of not to switch, but it was confusing to me because sometimes they would and other times they wouldn't, and it was equally confusing to the players, and they were giving up the same kind of backdoors without any rim protection out there as well. They had Kevin Love out there as the solo big a lot of the time. It's frightening, and they're not going to have Kevin Love tonight, so it'll be an interesting defensive adjustment for them.
And, you took the words out of my mouth. Kevin Love has not been cleared to play for this evening. Hasn't had an impact as far as the spread is concerned, as the odds makers. In fact, Cleveland are actually favored. It's amazing that Love has zero impact on it. So before we get you out of here, Channing Frye's only played 11 minutes. I don't know why. It seems to me that this would be a series. This would be a matchup that he would actually, it'd be favorable to get him on the court. Frye's only played 11 minutes. That's baffling to me, Coach.
Well, I can show you a number of clips where he's in there and they beat him backdoor as well, bad positioning. But then again, I can show you some clips where he did nicely on defense in a way that, as a shooter, the only way he's going to get going is if he gets some consistent minutes out there, get some shots up so he can get that rhythm going. So they're panicking way too early on this thing. And I get it, the lead grows. But remember, if he gives up a couple backdoor cuts, he can mitigate that by nailing some threes. But there's no way that's ever going to happen if they yank him after a 3-minute stretch where he might not be perfect on defense. And that's also on Lou to figure out a better 5-man lineup for him to play with that could help him as well.
Yeah, it's amazing though that we are in the finals and they're looking for lineups. We got to get out of here, Coach. So quick prediction: can Cleveland steal one tonight?
I'm giving them a 40% chance of winning this one at home. I'm really surprised that the point spread favors them. It just seems weird, but that's probably why I don't gamble.
I probably shouldn't gamble. Coach Nick, it's always a pleasure, my man. Thanks for the time.